Hey everybody, it's Jeremy here with the Guillette Group, and today we're doing a market update for September 2022. Again, this is specific to Southwest Florida. Real estate is hyper local, so what's happening here may not be what's happening where you are. But if you want to know the latest, what's happening for buyers, what's happening for sellers, and what's just happening in general in our market, make sure you check it out. All right, so this one's going to be a little different. As you can probably tell, I'm in a hotel room. I'm actually over on the East Coast today. I'm in Pompano, Florida. So yes, you might hear and see memes that kind of joke about this. But when you live in Florida, you do mini vacations in other parts of Florida. So we're over on the East Coast today. Two of our kids are getting scuba certified, my oldest and my youngest. So they're actually on the boat right now while I'm in the hotel room actually making this video. So apologize if there's AC noise in the background or anything unusual. It's just we're kind of out of place here. But anyway, so I want to talk about the market. The shift has begun. And what do I mean by the shift? Well, for the last couple of years, it has been a historic seller's market. It's still a seller's market. There's still unusually low inventory, although the inventory is increasing. So that's a good thing for buyers. And it's still an okay thing for sellers if you're priced appropriately. So let's talk about that a little bit as we dig into buyers and sellers. As we think about buyers in particular, we've had some really interesting conversations over the past 2, maybe even 3 weeks, where there's a specific behavior, I will say, that's not being rewarded in the marketplace, and that is lowball offers. So yes, the market has started to shift, but it has not plummeted. There's no precipitous fall that we've seen. There's no crazy, like, our inventory is quadrupled. Nothing crazy, but yet the buyers, I think, who've just been, so just not wanting to get into the market when it was just in a frenetic state for the past couple of years, have been waiting for it to be their turn. And so that behavior that I'm talking about that's not being rewarded are lowball offers. So we've had, in multiple cases in the last week, buyers approach us and ask us to bid or offer $200,000 under asking in some cases. And depending on the price point, that can be very significant. And in fact, it was in a couple cases. Those offers are not being accepted by sellers. So yes, the market is softening a little bit. The days on market, the market time is increasing, but you're not going to find that kind of deal. In fact, when you look at the data, we're seeing about a 1% decrease per month. That's about the average. Now, within parts of our area, Collier County is feeling it a little bit more than Lee County. And then you have nuances, like if you're a neighborhood that, from a seller perspective, if you compete with new construction, you're feeling more price pressure than maybe some of the older communities that don't have land, still to build out and aren't building new construction. And the reason being, there's some offers to be had with new construction. That's right. So flipping a little bit, if you're the buyer in this scenario, you can get some pretty great deals right now. If you wanted to go to Pulte and Lennar, they both have incentives. Frankly, there's incentives that aren't even pitched to the public that we know about. So if you're interested in talking new construction, make sure you reach out to us. You know how to get a hold of us. But that is an area that you can win. Back to the seller side, again, you're going to have some pricing pressures more than others in certain communities. In the more established communities, the closer you get to the Gulf of Mexico, where there's not as much competition, particularly with new construction, we're not seeing much price movement at all. So that's the update as it relates to price. Okay, so let's talk about price as it relates to sellers. In this market where we're seeing a little bit of a decline, and it's flat to slight decline in most areas. Again, certain communities have more pricing pressure than others. Price is important. It's no longer the days, even though you look back and you think, man, 6 months ago, even 4 months ago, probably you could name your own price. It's just not the case anymore, and you have to be really mindful of how and where we price the home. It is the single biggest marketing tool we have. And I can assure you, we have a very robust and comprehensive marketing plan, but at the end of the day, if people don't see the value in the home, it's driven from price. They're not going to make an offer. So in this market, we're seeing a little bit of a decline. There's a couple of strategies. When you start too high, we're letting the market pass us by. And when that happens, we do small drops, or a buyer, seller rather, may choose to do some small drops. And effectively, we're chasing the market back down, but the market's ahead of us. So when we're in that scenario, a better approach might be to make big drops and then get in front of the market a little bit. Someone will find the value, you'll go under contract, and probably by the time you close, the houses around you, if the decline continues a little bit, might actually be below what you're pending at. So it's a really nuanced kind of approach, where if you're following the market down and you're trailing it the whole time, you're always chasing it. Whereas if you do a big drop, you might go under contract, and then 30 to 45 days later, the market's caught up, but effectively you are now out of the market and sold and done. Moving on to the next step. One of the things that we've been talking about a lot with our sellers recently is activity. And activity is slow. I mean, it's slower than it's been. We're averaging 1 to 2 showings a week, I would say, on the average listing. If it's priced more aggressively, we get 3 to 4. In one scenario with our own listing, we made a pretty big price improvement and we went pending in 48 hours. So the next day we had, I think, 5 or 6 showings, and the day after that we were under contract. So again, price is a big part of it. But in terms of activity, what are we seeing? Well, August and September historically are the slowest months in Southwest Florida. It's not until late September that we typically see more of our buyer activity return. That's where we are now. So it will be pretty telling. You know, this approach to inflation to help curb inflation and rising interest rates is having an effect. There is no doubt about it. But I'll remind you, 60% of our market is cash. So it's not as big of an effect as many buyers might think. So as I talked about in the intro, real estate's crazy hyper local. So, you know, if you're in a market that's 60% cash, rising interest rates has an effect, but it doesn't have as big an effect in an area that's 20% cash, where 80% of the deals are financed. Getting back to activity, well, I think in the next 3 to 4 weeks, we're going to see where we stand as we approach going into season. If our buyer activity picks back up, if we see more of our folks from up north, our Canadian snowbirds, etc., coming back down, I'm going to anticipate that our prices will plateau or potentially even pick back up a little bit. So Zillow is still predicting an increase in appreciation in 2022. So, you know, no one has a crystal ball. You know, we can't predict what's going to happen with the economy. I was talking to an agent that lives in Canada, and they're seeing a much different market, where they have almost a 40% decrease in the volume of transactions and a 20 to 30% decrease in price. We're not seeing that in Southwest Florida. There is still crazy demand. There are still a lot of people that want to move to Florida for a variety of reasons. It could be environmental, it could be social, it could be lifestyle, it could be for work, it could be for retirement. I mean, you know, people move here all the time. In fact, the old statistic used to be 1,000 people a day are moving to Florida. In the past 2 years, I don't know the exact number, it's been confirmed it's even higher than that. Now, I want to take a minute and talk about new construction. If you've been thinking about new construction, September's the time. Give us a call. Make sure you reach out to Angie. She does all the new construction sales for our team. There are some incentives that aren't even listed publicly that would be available to you. We have already heard rumors that pricing will start to go back up after September, as the builders also are anticipating we're going to see more activity coming into late September and October. So a statistic that we talk about that's important, especially as it relates to sellers, is the days on market. And we are definitely seeing an increase in days on market. You know, things used to sell in hours in some cases, but typically in days and occasionally a week. What we're seeing now is more like 30 to 60 days. And again, if you're priced well, of course it's much faster. But we're returning more towards what a normal market used to feel like. And that's a good thing. You know, buyers don't have to fly in or make a decision sight unseen. You know, we didn't love walking around doing video, taking FaceTimes, and hoping you love it when you show up for closing 30 days later. So it's not as frenetic, although I will tell you, we wrote 3 offers in the last week. 2 of the houses we wrote offers on had multiple offers. So here's what I would say. Get away from the headlines. It's not doom and gloom, or at least it's not here. People are holding on their pricing. We're not seeing a huge imbalance in terms of so much inventory and so few buyers. It is still slightly in the favor of the seller because our inventory is low, but the demand has also softened a little bit, and I say a little bit. It's hard to suggest demand has softened, but there's still a lot of demand. So, if you price your home well, you're going to find a buyer. And again, this could be a really good opportunity, especially if you wanted to get into new construction, to pursue that approach. All right, so this one was a little different. Normally I pull out all kinds of charts and data. I didn't want to do that for you guys in this video. I figured I'd just do it down and dirty, tell you how it is. But if you're curious about some communities here, make sure you check out this playlist with all kinds of communities in Southwest Florida. This past weekend, I was talking to someone that was interested in joining a community that has a beach club on the Gulf of Mexico. Check out this community, which actually has its own boat ferry that will take you to their private beach club.